Hi everyone. So I am going to review the Acorn Pressing Pen and give you some tips. My first tip is keep the original bag that your kit comes in. Mine has staple holes up at the top. Those are very small holes. If you can, put a piece of tape over them, because I have been trolling social media and have found out that this will evaporate. So you can pour all kinds of liquid in this pen and it will evaporate out. Why? 2 reasons, maybe 3. So when I'm not using this, I keep it in this bag. What I noticed whenever I first started using this, you have to prime the tip by pushing on it, and then it pops back out, and then that allows fluid to come out of the pen. I didn't feel like enough was coming out, so I was pushing it constantly, and then it'd be really wet when I'd put it on my seam. That is not necessary. You don't have to douse your seam. You just have to have it somewhat wet. If you are having to apply pressure constantly to get your stuff out, you're using too much. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, when you store this, since you've primed it and it's all the gravity's feeding this down on that felt tip pen, store it upright. That's going to prevent, because this happened to me after I primed it and put it in my basket, I just dropped it in there, and my basket is my storage basket. I just dropped it in there and it fell like this, and then the next time I went to use it to take the cap off. When I did, all of that had ran down into my cap and it flung everywhere. Okay, no big deal. It's just starch. It can get on everything. It's not like it's going to show up. But that's where all of this was going. Then I noticed when I put the cap on, it clicked. But can you see that? You can't really see it. It's not clicked all the way up. So you put it on there. There's a better picture. It's on there, but it's not sealed. You need to seal it. This pen takes a little bit of effort to do that. So those are my tips. When you're filling this, this will sit upright on your desk like this. You screw off the cap. It does have an O-ring seal. Do not over torque this. You will break that seal and then it won't. So I've been using this pen now for a week and it's halfway. But the first day I got it, the pen ran out. So if you are having that problem, these tips will help you save some money on your Acorn Pressing Pen stuff. Now to review how well it works. I kind of want to, after I run out of this stuff, to make my own starch using vodka and water. So if you use your own starch, make your own starch. It's 1 cup, and I say 1 vessel of vodka to 8 vessels of water, whatever your vessel size is. So if you're using a bottle cap, then it's 1 bottle cap of vodka and 8 bottle caps of water. If you're using cups, it'd be 1 cup of vodka and 8 cups of water. However you're mixing your stuff. I'm interested to see if using vodka and water in this would be the same. This has no alcohol smell. What this smells like to me is Elmer's glue that has been watered down. I may try that. We all know that we can put Elmer's glue in our quilts when you do the binding and that glue does not show up on fabric. I'm wondering if the Elmer's glue is not mixed, because that's what it smells like to me. It smells like Elmer's glue. It really doesn't have a smell, but yet it does. Let me smell it again. There's really no smell. But originally when I got this, that's what it reminded me of. So your options are not limited. You don't have to buy the Acorn Pressing stuff. You can also try your own. If you have one of these and have never filled it and like the starch that you use, try your own. Now this is what I also figured out. So I had not cleaned my iron in months, and I've been using lots of starch, doing this, and started using this, and then all of a sudden I noticed on the edge of my iron, and I'll put a picture in right here, on the edge of my iron, I started getting black buildup. And I know also from watching lots of YouTube videos that other content creators are having this same issue. Is it because we're using newsprint? The amount that I ironed on the ink surface of newsprint, probably not. That was my first thought, but I don't think so. Is it a mixture of mixing this chemical with my normal starch? That might be it. I had to go and clean my iron because I was afraid I would be ironing these white or off-white pieces, and then all of a sudden I'd end up with a dirty streak or something. It actually got to the point where my iron was pooping out little cylinders of black gunk out of my steam holes, which I don't use. I don't put water in my iron. I don't use it for steam. The only time I put water in my iron is if I'm cleaning it. So I had to completely clean my iron. Was it due for a cleaning? Yes. Is this related? I don't know. You tell me, how many of you have this and use it on a regular basis? Do you get the buildup on your iron? Let me know, because I'm wondering if it's just a mixture of the two chemicals. So I use Faultless spray starch with this. If there was a way for me to spray, which I bet I could, spray the spray starch directly into here, this pen would probably clog up. So I don't want to do that. So, would you be interested in an Acorn Pressing Pen? This had no interest to me whatsoever, but I kept seeing it being used, and then I started this project. And let's face it, right here, you could use a hammer to hammer your seam flat. That's how thick it was. But if you'll look, my pieces are very flat. So it's working. So I'm going to continue to use it. The one thing I don't like, and let's see, it doesn't really show on here, but when I'm putting this on my seam and then I iron it, if I have just a little bit of wave in my straight line, it causes the fabric to do this wrinkle number. It causes the fabric to somewhat distort to where you can't iron it flat. So it's pointing out your stitch line mistake. That is what I hate about it. We all know how hard it is to sew a straight line some days. And by doing this project, I normally use a seam guide, and I'm not using a seam guide anymore. I'm using the lines on the paper strictly, and I'm finding that my sewing machine just wants to scoot that stuff all over the place. I didn't realize how willy-nilly it was. So it's very hard to sew a straight line. Thumbs up or thumbs down? I'm going to give this 2 thumbs up. I didn't think that this step, I didn't think I'd like this step, but actually it's very, very satisfying to take a block, iron it, put this on there, and then iron it again, and it is flat. Now I will say, if you are using pre-cuts, fabric that has not been washed, or pre-starched, if you use this, your seams are going to shrink. It's no different than putting water on it and then running your steam over it. It's the same thing. This will cause your seams to shrink. So keep that in mind whenever you are doing this process. All right, this is going to go back in the bag. Right side up. And it's just going to sit on my shelf like this until I'm ready for it. Thanks for watching.